Look, at this point it would be borderline miraculous if you hadn't already seen this news, because it's kind of been everywhere for the last however many hours, and even this announcement on the Warhammer community side has been up for enough time for a bajillion videos to have been made and 1,000 social media posts to have been thrown into the wind. But it would be a bit weird if we didn't talk about it on this channel, given that this channel is almost entirely about Warhammer based stuff. So finally, hobby YouTubers have a legitimate excuse to put Henry Cavill's face on a thumbnail, because Henry Cavill is going to be starring in a Warhammer thing. An actual live action Warhammer series, film, something like that, potentially loads of them, and they're going to be made by Amazon Studios, which has already brought its fair share of both excitement and despair. The cliff notes are basically this: that Amazon Studios has announced that it secured global rights to Warhammer 40,000 based on the immensely popular intellectual property from Games Workshop, and it encompasses rights to the universe across series, film, and more. More being stuff? I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what the more would be. It's going to be probably things like merchandising and things. So if they do a very successful series or a very successful film or all of the above, then they will be able to make merchandise around that, which makes sense. You would tie those two things in together. Interestingly, the more bit, that's something to think about, because series, film, and more, Amazon also does game development now. So that's potentially something that we might see from them in the future, but it's not been explicitly laid out in this particular announcement. The four kind of entities involved in this seem to be Henry Cavill, Vertigo Entertainment, Games Workshop, and of course Amazon Studios. Vertigo, they've got a fairly decent roster of films under their belts by the look of things, and it feels kind of redundant to say how much of a fan of the franchise Henry Cavill is, because I'm pretty sure everyone at this point knows that he really, really loves Warhammer 40k, but he does. Now, Henry Cavill did say the opportunity to shepherd this cinematic universe from its inception is quite the honour and responsibility, and I feel like that paints a very, very grand picture. Well, it paints a kind of floor-to-ceiling, wall-to-wall gigantic portrait more than it paints a picture. That's quite a big phrase to throw around, and I would suggest at this point in proceedings that we maybe temper expectations somewhat. Maybe temper expectations just that little bit. Now, that's not to suggest that there isn't some level of faith that, this combination of people can't bring something like that together, but at this stage, he has also said on Instagram that the first steps are to find filmmaker, creator, and writer. Fairly important things, I would suggest, to get a single episode of anything off the ground, let alone an entire cinematic universe, which is why I suggest we temper expectations, not just for the scale and complexity of something like this, but also for the timescale. Like, if this announcement is being made and this contract has been signed, we are still years out from seeing anything from it. If there isn't a writer on board at this point already, then any hope or expectation of, say, 2024 being full of Warhammer 40,000 based live action series, I think that's something that would be considered a tad unrealistic, to be honest. Now, Henry Cavill also said that this was a lifelong dream come true, which means I think he's on to like his third or fourth dream role at this point. I mean, at the very least, if it all goes well and he gets what he wants and he's able to bring it all together, then we can at least know that he is going to be having a whale of a time. Now, there's a lot of speculation as to what the symbol that they've used for this particular announcement means, the little animation that they came out with, whether that's indicative of what they're going to be writing initially, or where they're going to start in terms of series or films. Honestly, I think it's a little bit too early to really make calls like that. It has the feel of something heresy, so it could be something like that, but honestly, at this stage, this early, it's kind of difficult to pin anything down. It could be a case of a nice hint as to where they want to start with all of this stuff, or alternatively, it's a cool logo that fans will recognise and non-fans will come to recognise as the symbol of a Warhammer cinematic universe should it get to that stage. At this stage in the game, this is just one of those things that could be really, really good. It could be incredibly well done, it could be extremely well written and absolutely perfect in every way, but frankly at this point there is so little to go on. And outside of this announcement of this partnership, we don't have any further information as to what the plans are, exactly what they're going to be doing, how a cinematic universe would take shape. So basically, it's a lot of hype and a lot of excitement and a lot of worry and some borderline unhinged responses. This, I feel, is the exact circumstance where you want to stay middle of the road and wait to see what happens, Still, I can definitely understand there being a bit of hype around the fact that Henry Cavill is directly involved, given that pretty much any time any sort of live-action Warhammer 40,000 anything is mentioned, his name is pretty much at the top of the list of people that should be doing it. Whatever happens, it's going to be interesting to see it play out. And when an announcement is this far ahead of an actual product, I think that's the best you can really hope for. Question is, what do you make of all of this? Let me know in the comments down below. In the meantime, feel free to click all the things, Patreon video, subscribe, all that stuff. Click it if you like, don't click if you don't want to. And as always, there's an affiliate link in the description for Element Games where you can use support the channel if you'd like. I leave it in your capable hands. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.